Alright, all you third shift racers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to none other than I Has a Boat with their stunt landed it. And of course goes to none other than Pseudo Nimble with their stunt Bandito Time. And the reason why we picked these two incredible stunts? Well, for one, anybody who's crazy enough to land their plane on the top of the Maze Bank Tower and survive the whole ordeal and even celebrate themselves is definitely an A+ in our books. And the reason why we picked the second stunt, well, if anybody can shrink themselves down to a micro size and do a whole bunch of cool backflip spins and other sorts of crazy tricks in a micro machine-like car, it's not only scientifically impossible according to the maestro, but awesome in our books. And speaking of things that are scientifically impossible yet absolutely awesome in our world, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines for another post-Easter special edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Moini16 with their said track, Vertical Insanity 1. And yes, Maestro, we are a glutton for punishment when it comes to tracks like these. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track for the track of the week for this week, and not to mention start with the Vertical Insanity that started it all, is not only because it comes with a huge, giant, oversized ramp like its predecessors, but along the way you will have to go through an obstacle course that will include bowling balls and a litany list of other things that we can't reveal on the air right now to help you experience this track at home. And not to mention, we don't want to get on the creator's bad side and for him to edit some more things in there along the way. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there for this said track is to make sure you pick a car that can make that climb up that giant size ramp to actually finish off this race. The only tip of advice we have for you. So I guess the best car for that would be what? Sports, Super, and a select group of muscle cars along the way. If you use anything else besides that, you better hope it has a souped up engine, because it may not make it to the top. And speaking of things not making it up to the top of a giant oversized hill, once again on the track of the week list, Moini16 with their said track, Vertical Insanity 4. And this is the latest and possibly the greatest track that they would be able to produce in the Vertical Insanity series, because this track, ladies and gentlemen, is a world record stunt track that has the longest vertical ramp on GTA. Nice! And it's definite proof of it, folks, because this is right above the clouds and reminds me of something out of a roller coaster ride that I got a feeling Rocco was on during an episode of Rocco's Modern Life. But besides cartoon puns, folks, the only tip of advice we have for you crazy race fans out there who wants to take things to the extreme with this, make sure that if you can't make it up, and I would highly advise that you decide to have a slipstream available during this track, because if you can't make it up there, you can at least try to piggyback off your opponent to try to make it up to the top. And another bit of warning, once you're going down that giant vertical sling back down to earth, make sure you be careful if you try to take out your opponent, because the slightest bump on that giant oversized ramp and you're gonna go down tumbling all the way back down to earth. And the only thing you better hope for after that is that you land on your wheels, because if you don't, let's just say you will blow up on contact. At that height, yeah, you'll definitely blow up on contact. And it will cost you during that race. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Genopia with their said track, G-Twisted Eightful. Eightful? And Maestro with a confused look on his face, wondering what in the world is an eightful. Well, to answer your question, it's a figure 8 oval track that Genopia decided to make that is available for all cars across the board with the exception of the cars with weapons on it and utility vehicles that you can't use during this said track. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there, that if you're on the upper deck of this 8-volt track and decide to T-bone your opponent, for those down below going into your next lap, watch out for falling cars, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth competition up there, and it will cost you during this race if you happen to get, I don't know, T-boned or a car lands on your roof and costs you to win. So yeah, definitely watch out because there's no barricades for this said track, especially over the giant oversized crossroads that they have for this said track. So watch out and be careful. And the next track that we have up that comes from, once again, Genopia with his said track, G-Rail Racer Circuit. And this track is another one of those cool tracks that actually involves you racing on the same rail track as a train that goes throughout the downtown city of Los Santos. Now, before Maestro chimes in and say it's the same one as that San Francisco line with the monorail, no, it's not. It's actually the one with the actual train, the freight train itself. So, the only tip of advice that we have for you fans out there while racing on this said track is beware of the train if it's on this said track, because according to the creator, it's a ghost train, and alongside with it, be careful on where you decide to overtake your opponent, because if you try to, as you leave the tunnel trying to head toward the bridge, there's a high possibility that you can get knocked into the bridge, and unless you're successful at pulling off a successful barrel roll, yeah, it will cost you during this race. Just, a heads up for you fans out there. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from the creator Odin 20008 with his said track, Transform Cross Raid. And the only reason we decided to pick this track, besides the fact that you get a chance to use off-road vehicles and even get a chance to go onto what appears to be some form of point-to-point rally race, is the fact that along the way, folks, you get a chance to transform into not only a Bifta, a Sanchez, an Oppressor, an Aqua Blazer, and even a mystery vehicle that we will not mention during the broadcast, but we'll let you find out on your own. But let's just say the only hint we're gonna give you is Bigfoot. Only hint we're giving you. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there for this said track is to make sure you pick a good off-road vehicle with good handling, as you will switch back to that said off-road vehicle. And not to mention, on certain parts of the track, there are no barriers, and there's a high possibility that you can fall into the water during this said track. And if you're not riding on that Aqua Blazer, there's a high possibility you're gonna go into the drink, and it will cost you during this race. That is, if you have a car that is tall enough off the ground that can survive an underwater plunge. And here's hoping that you do. With good handling, that is. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And oh, before we forget, and thank you for reminding me, Maestro, for any of you out there who wants to play all of these tracks plus other cool tracks that we threw into the mix for this week, you can head on over to the socialclub.rockstar games page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and look up the playlist entitled Easter Jumpin' to check it out for yourself. And make sure you invite your friends along the way, because if we're able to get on the trophy stand case during all of these races, there's a high possibility you can go home with a minimum of $100,000 for doing this entire playlist. So good luck to all you insane racers out there who decide to take it on. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into the music one more time, and when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in that madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned.